Welcome to AI TV News. This week, an unprecedented event unfolded at the heart of America's military power. Dozens of reporters packed their bags, turned in their press badges, and walked out of the Pentagon. In this segment, we'll explain what led to this historic standoff, what it means for press freedom, and how it could affect what you know about the U.S. military. On Wednesday, October 15, 2025, between 40 and 50 journalists from the nation's most prominent news organizations left their workspaces at the Pentagon. This wasn't a strike for better pay or working conditions. It was a protest. They refused to sign a new media policy by a 5 p.m. deadline, effectively ending their ability to report from inside the building. In a rare show of unity, outlets from across the political spectrum, including the Associated Press, Reuters, CNN, Fox News, The New York Times, and The Washington Post, all took part. The 5 major television networks, ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, and NBC, issued a joint statement condemning the new rules. The Pentagon Press Association, which represents journalists covering the department, called it a dark day for press freedom. For the first time since the Pentagon opened in 1943, there are now almost no major news outlets accredited to cover the Department of Defense from the inside. So what are these new rules that caused such a dramatic response? The issue lies within a new 21-page document that journalists were required to acknowledge. The most contentious part warns reporters they could lose their credentials for soliciting information that has not been officially approved for public release. This rule applies even to unclassified information. To a journalist, soliciting information is the very core of their job. It means asking questions, following up on tips, or seeking clarification from sources. Media organizations argue this new language effectively criminalizes routine news gathering. The Pentagon Press Association stated the policy carries an implicit threat of criminalizing national security reporting. Critics fear the rules are designed to create a chilling effect, intimidating not only journalists, but also government employees who might otherwise speak to the press about waste, problems, or wrongdoing. The new policy also restricts journalists' access within the Pentagon, requiring them to have an escort in many areas where they could previously move freely. The two sides in this dispute have fundamentally different views. The Pentagon, led by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News host, defends the new rules. His chief spokesman, Sean Parnell, called them common-sense measures needed for national security, saying they align with standards at other military bases. The Pentagon also argues that journalists were only being asked to acknowledge the rules, not agree with them. Journalists call this a meaningless distinction, arguing that signing the document could expose them to potential prosecution for doing their jobs. Secretary Hegseth has appeared dismissive of the media's concerns, and President Trump defended him, stating the press can be very disruptive. The journalists, on the other hand, see this as a direct assault on the First Amendment. They argue the policy is an attempt to control the narrative coming out of the Pentagon and force them to rely on spoon-fed official statements. Nancy Youssef, a veteran Pentagon correspondent, called it a sad day, but said she was incredibly honored to be part of a press corps that stuck together. News organizations insist they will continue to cover the military vigorously, but now they must do so from outside the building. This standoff didn't happen in a vacuum. The new rules were first introduced in September and were met with immediate backlash. A revised version was issued in early October, but press freedom advocates said it was just as dangerous. The move is seen by some as an effort by Secretary Hegseth to clamp down on leaks. With a defense budget approaching $1 trillion, news organizations argue that independent oversight is more critical than ever.
The departure of the press corps removes a key layer of public transparency from one of the most powerful institutions in the world. It is unclear what the long-term impact will be. While news organizations have vowed to continue their coverage, the lack of daily, in-person access to sources and officials will undoubtedly hinder their ability to report on the inner workings of the military. This historic walkout marks a new chapter in the relationship between the press and the Pentagon, highlighting the ongoing tension between the government's desire to control information and the public's right to know.